Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be creating this seed inventory tracker. It also has a dashboard, which is what we're looking at right now. This video is part of my dashboard series where I am taking ordinary database tables like this and creating dynamic responsive dashboards for them. So if you haven't seen any of those videos, I have a playlist and I'll link that in the description box below. This database and dashboard is a seed inventory tracker. I accumulated a lot of seeds in a short amount of time, and it made sense to create a database to organize my seeds. After creating the database, I decided this would fit right into the dashboard series. Why not create a dashboard for the database? So that's what we're going to be creating today. Let's go to our tutorial checklist. And here is an overview of the steps we're going to go through to recreate this seed inventory dashboard. We'll start with the template overview. Let's go through each one, starting with the setup tab. Here is where we're going to add in the information that goes into the database, meaning that when we need to create dropdowns in the database, here's where we're going to add them. And then when we need to modify them, we also do that here as well. The next tab is the table. This is a very simple table. And the reason why I am intentionally designing a simple database table is because we have an entire dashboard that's dedicated to summarizing information with charts, graphs, and tables. We don't need to put that information here. Finally, we have the dashboard, which is where we started. We are recreating this entire dashboard from scratch. So when we get to that step, I will explain what each chart and table represents. All right, so back to our tutorial checklist. Here we can cross this off as we have completed the overview. Next, we're going to do the setup tab. And here's the setup tab we're going to be recreating. All right, I'll start with a blank sheet like I always do. And I like to make global changes, meaning that I select the entire sheet, I change it to the fonts that I like, change the alignment, and then remove the rows and columns I don't need. So if we go back here, you can see that everything after N has been deleted and anything after 36 as well. So back here, I'm going to do the same. Select O all the way till the N, delete that, and then select 36 all the way down to 1000 and delete that. Now you're welcome to add more rows depending on how much information you need organized in your database. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm doing it exactly how I did it in the example. All right, so now I'm going to select everything and resize the rows, make that 30, rename this sheet setup 2. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I will sometimes refer to the setup tab as the example and setup 2 tab as the template. So here is the example setup tab. These columns are not really needed, so I'm going to get rid of them. We only need from A to J, so back here, delete it here as well. And then I'm going to go back here and just show you that I'm going to change the size of this column here, the first one and the last one, and the ones in between. We have a table with 2 columns, and then we have 3 individual tables with 1 column. So we're going to replicate that. First, starting with the columns on the borders and in between the tables. I'm selecting every other column except for the first one. Select every other column after that. Right click, resize the column, make that 30. All right, and then now we can resize the columns where our data is going to go. Resize this, and I'm going to make this 200. And you can make it wider if you feel like your data needs more space. Let's go ahead and create our tables. First, we'll start with the header area, our outer border around it. All right. And then here's where the actual information is going to go, right here. So outer border around that as well. And then I'll merge this because this is going to be one header for both of them. All right. And then I'll do the same for the second table. Add the border around the header and then one more around the table area. All right. So we have our 2 tables. And then select both of them because I want to add internal borders for both of them. So go back here. And we can use the horizontal borders. I don't want to add vertical, just horizontal, so click on that. But I don't want this color. I want the lighter gray color. So go to the color, change it to light gray, change it to this dash option here. It's hard to see, but when we remove the grid line, you should be able to see what it looks like. Now I'm going to go ahead and add colors, but before I do that, I want to explain how I add colors to my spreadsheets. So of course you can use any colors you want from this palette, or you can import your own colors, or even bring in a picture and use the color picker option to choose colors from that. How I like to do it is to use this section right here. I add the colors in this section. You can add them the same way you would add colors, or you can select them from here but add them to this palette and then use it in your template. What this gives you is flexibility to change your colors, and not just change your colors in one area but change them for the entire template. So what do I mean by that? Let's say for here I've chosen these two colors. Let's also make some changes here as well. So I'm going to change these to this color and this to this color. All right. So we have this area right here and this area right here with colors that I have selected from here. Let's say I change my mind. I don't want these colors anymore. All I need to do is go to fill color, go to custom, just click that pencil icon. And then let's say I want to change both of them. I don't want this color and I don't want this color. I can change it by clicking the arrow next to the color. And you can see I have the exact same color options to pick from, or I can add in my color or use the color picker option to select a color from a picture or a palette that I import into my template. So let's say I want to change this green color to this purple color and this color to red. Once I change it here, you can see that it changes it here automatically. And if I go right to my setup tab, my setup to tab, it also changes it here. So as long as every time I apply a color to my template, I use the colors from this area, when I need to change it in a future date, all I need to do is to change it here and it changes every single part of the template. So for the colors, go ahead and add whatever colors you want to your table. I will add the same ones that I have used for my example templates. And then I'm going to add a background color to the text area. Here and right here as well. So now that I have my tables the way I want them, I'm going to select this table here, the one in column E, use the paint format and paste it here and here, so I don't have to repeat the same steps for these tables since they are all identical. And now that all my tables are gone, go to view, show, grid lines, and as you can see, our tables look like what we created in the example. And then for the placeholder information, if you already have your information for your inventory, for your garden seeds, go ahead and add them into your template. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to be reusing this information. So I'm copying this information here. I'll just copy these ones. All right, so here I have my placeholder information, plant name. All right, and you have 2 columns for plant name. You can even add more. So let's say you have a really long list for plant name. You can insert column left, and then you can just keep adding your plant names here. We're going to use this to create a drop down. All right, and then we have our category. So for our plants, we have our very broad categories. So is it a herb, is it a fruit, is it a vegetable? So for subcategories, we have it even broken down further into things like legumes, leafy greens, roots, etc. And then I added a column for variety type because some of my seeds are specifically labeled as bush varieties, dwarf, compact varieties, and I want to know that information. So that's why I added this additional column. It might not be something you need, but you can use this column for a different category. So if you wanted to tag your seeds with a certain property, you can use this as a tag, and then you could add the tag or keyword you wanted to tie to that variety. So create the list here, and then you tie it into the seed when you enter it in the database. All right, so this part is done. Back here, let's check that off. Next, we're going to create the database table. We're going to create this table right here. So do the same thing. Select a new sheet, change the fonts and the alignment, and remove the extra columns we're not going to need. So I'm removing everything after K. And then for this one, I'll probably remove from 300. All right. And if you have more seeds to enter, you can always add more rows to your database. And then I'm just going to select all of them, right click, resize 30. And then I'm going to resize the corner columns as well, 30. And here's where the header is going to go. So I'll put a border around that using this option, and then select the rest of the table, put a border around them, external borders. I also want internal borders. I'm going to do the same thing, horizontal borders, and then change the color and change the style. So you can't really see it because we still have our grid lines, but when we take it off, you should be able to see the internal borders. All right, so now go ahead and add the colors you want. I'm just going to select the color from my color palette here. All right, and let's rename our sheets seed database 2. All right, so we have seed database, which is the example, and seed database 2, which is our template. All right, and now I'm going to copy these headers into our template to paste them here, and then we'll go over each one. So here's what we have. The first is the variety name. So it could be, for example, Tiny Tim tomatoes, right? So they're tomatoes, but the specific variety is called Tiny Tim. So you add that here. We have a column for image. Make this a little bit smaller. So the plant name would be something like tomato, like the example I gave earlier. The variety would be Tiny Tim. The plant name would be tomatoes. And then the category and the subcategory would go here. So just make this bigger for both of them. Now here we have a spot for expiration date. Then we have a variety type, which I also said you can use to tag certain seed with certain keywords. And then here I have growth height, and then finally the node section. All right, so here's what we have so far. Now what we're going to do is format some of these columns. Some of them need to be formatted, some of them don't. So formatting means we're going to add in our drop downs in the columns that need drop downs, and dates, for example, will need to be formatted. All right. So we don't need to do anything with the variety name or the image. First thing we're going to do is enter the plant name. This is going to be a drop down. To do this, we're going to just select a few of the rows. Go to data validation, all right, and add rule. Now, as you can see, it automatically selected the cells that I selected. I wanted to select all the way down to 300. So what I'm going to do is remove 9. So just delete 9 from there. It selects everything. Now we're going to change the criteria from drop down to drop down from range. Use this icon that says select data range. Click on that. Go to our setup tab, and we're going to select this range right here. So remember, we're selecting these 2 columns. If we had 3, we would select 3 as well. So select all of them, click OK. All right. And then you can go to advanced option if you want and change the style. I will leave it as chip style for now and click done. And we're going to do the same thing for category and subcategory. So select a few cells, add rule. I'm going to remove 14 so it selects everything. Drop down from range, select data range, category, click done. And the last one, subcategory, add rule, drop down from range, subcategory. Okay. So now let's test it out to make sure it works. So plant name, category, subcategory. So they all work fine. And if you wanted, you could add colors here. I'm not doing that for this template, but if you wanted to, go ahead and click the edit button, and then you can add whatever colors you wanted to apply to each subcategory, category, or plant name. Next is the expiration date. What I want is when we double click in this cell, the date picker option shows up, so it's easier for us to select a date. So to do that, we'll do sort of the same thing. Select some of the rows, click on add rule, remove the row number so it selects everything, change the criteria from drop down to is valid dates. Okay, and once we do that, you can see the drop downs disappear, and then we can add additional options. So you can reject the input, and this would allow you to keep the date style consistent. And if you're going to be sharing this template, you can check this box so whomever is trying to use it know that they need to enter a valid date in this column. So click done. So now let's test it out. Double click. You can see that the date picker option shows up here, and we can select dates that we want. I also want to change the formatting of the date. This is the default formatting, and I want to change it to a different one. So to do this, we're going to go to format number, custom date and time. Here you see we have a variety of different dates and times. The ones that I have used most recently show up all the way at the top. So if you don't see this option here, you probably have to scroll down, or you can build it from scratch. It's really easy. You can select whatever one that shows up, and then you can change the format by clicking here. So you have different ways to display the month. I will select the abbreviated version for the day. I want the one with the leading 0, and I want the full numeric year. Click apply, and here's what it looks like now. So if I go ahead and select June, you can see that it shows up like so, and it's all consistent. All right, and for variety type, it's going to be another drop down. So the same step, add rule. All right, we're going to select the range from our setup tab. Click OK, done. And here's going to be a normal text. So we're going to be typing things like 12 inches or 30 centimeters. So we don't need to do any additional formatting to this column or this column. All right, before we add in our actual placeholder information, let's add a filter to this table. To do this, we're going to just select the header here. All right, and then create a filter. Click that. You see these little icons that appear next to each name in the column. This would allow you to sort and filter your table based on the criteria in each column. And you can readjust the columns to fit better because of the icon here. And then finally, we can remove our grid line. So click on view and grid line, and here's what our table looks like. And I'm going to back here, I'm going to add some of my placeholder information. I'm going to steal them from here. All right, so I'm just copying this and I'm going to paste them here, paste values only. I'm going to remove the images because I want to show you how to add those. Here I have lettuce not showing up because I need to add that to my drop down. So just add lettuce here. All right, so every time you see an error message, it's because either it doesn't exist in your drop down or there's a misspelling or something. So now that I re-added it, the error message goes away. All right, so we have our table here. I had the images. I just wanted to show you how to add them from scratch. Let's start with the first one. This is a red flower bean. So click on the cell that says image, insert image in cell. For the purposes of this tutorial, I will use some general images from Google Image. So I'll go to Google Images and I'm going to search for red flower beans. All right, and of course you can choose whatever image that best fits your needs. I'm going to go with this one, click Insert, and it shows up right here. All right, and then just repeat the steps for the rest of the images. So let's do one more together. Image, insert image in cell. And by the way, if you have this image uploaded to your device, like your computer, you can use browse and pull it in. It would be the same exact steps after you've pulled it in. Or if you have it linked to your Google Drive photos, you can pull it from there as well. All right, so back to images. Let's search for arugula. All right, I just changed it to arugula plant to get some more image varieties. I'm just gonna go with this one right here, insert. All right, and there's the image for arugula. And I'll copy the rest of these images here to save time and just paste them here. All right, so the seed database is done. Back to our tutorial checklist. We can check that off. We also added our data validation rules, so meaning we added the drop downs and the dates formatting, so we can check that off as well. Next, we're going to create the dashboard structure. So here's the dashboard. All right, we're going to create the structure first, then we'll add the formulas and the charts and the graphs. So starting with a new sheet, I'm going to clean it up. I'm removing the excess columns after Q, so R all the way, delete those, and everything after 45. Resize the rows, 30. Resize the columns at the border, so A and Q, change those to 30 as well. All right, so let's take a peek at our example. We'll start with this section right here. Each section has 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, and 4 rows, and then there is a space between each section. So let's go back and do the same thing here. I'm gonna add our dashboard name, dashboard 2. First, we'll add a space between each section. We have 1, 2, 3, so E, 1, 2, 3, I, 1, 2, 3, column M, right click, resize 30. Select all the main columns without the spacer columns. Right click, change the size to 125. All right, now we can add the rectangles that go all the way across the top. So select the 3 columns and 4 rows, add borders, and add a color. So again, choose whatever color you want. And then what we're going to do is merge this right here. Here's where the label is going to go and the formula is going to go here. So merge that as well. So have this cell merged and this cell merged. This is optional. You don't have to merge it. And then we can select the entire thing, use the paints, and just paste it here. So we have 4 identical rectangles that go across the top. If we go back here, this row is a little bit smaller. So we can go and do the same thing here. Resize, make it 15. All right. And then let's go back and copy the name. So here's going to be where we add the total number of varieties in our database, number of plants, categories, and subcategories. So I'm going to be copying the headers. All right, we'll do the formulas later. So right now we're only copying the headers, pasting it here. All right. I'm selecting just this row so I can make it smaller. All right, so we have total number of varieties, total number of plant types, total number of categories and subcategories, and the formulas will go here. Back to our dashboard, we're going to create this area right here. We have this first long rectangle and then we have 3 squares. They go all the way from column 7 all the way down to 44. So do the first one from 7 to 44 at the border there. And here's going to be the header, so merge the cell and add the border as well. All right, so back here, the first square is from 7 to row 18. The second one is from 20 to 31. And the third one, 33 to 44. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing in our template. This is going to be the header for the first one. Add the border around it. And it's going to go from 7 to 18. So we're going to add another border around the entire thing. And then we can just copy this, skip a row, paste, skip a row, and paste. All right, so here's what it looks like now. Go ahead and add whatever colors you want to your template. I will go ahead and add colors from my palette. All right, so here's what we have so far. So far, so good. And let's create this area next. In this area, we have 2 squares and 2 rectangles. We'll start with these 2 squares first. So go back here. It is the same shape and size, so we can copy this, use the paint format and paste it here. Do one more, and then we can make the changes we need. So here is going to be a drop down. So merge here. We're going to add another outer border and add a color. If we go back here, you can see that this drop down is the name of the variety. What this is going to be doing for us is when we select a name of a variety, It's going to show us the plant name, category, subcategory, essentially whatever information we've added to our database will be displayed here, as well as the image right here. So that's what we're going to recreate. Here we need to add our drop down. Select that cell, data validation, add rule, changes the drop down from range. The range is in our database, so database 2. The variety name is what we need to grab. So I'm selecting just some of them, removing the row number so it selects everything, and then click done. I'm gonna edit this so I can change the style, change it to the arrow option, and click done. Now we can select our variety name from the drop down. Next, we're going to create this area. These represent information from the column, so you can see plant name, category, subcategory. And the last one is notes, and that's what's going to show up right here, the notes section. And then here's where the image is going to go. So we're just going to create some of this formatting here, and later on we'll add the formula. Okay, so as you can see, we have the first column with the column labels, and then these columns are merged. So select these columns here, go to merge, merge horizontally. So these columns are merged, and these ones are not. For the notes section, this entire section is merged. So this entire area, the last 4 rows, and merge that. You might lose some of your borders, so go ahead and add them back. And I'm going to add a border around the notes area. Select this first area, and we're going to add internal borders there. Click on the border color, change it to the lighter one, change it to the dotted line. I'm going to add the horizontal internal borders. And then finally, I'm going to add a color, and this is optional. Use whatever color you want to use, or omit the color completely. So here's where the column label is going to go on. The information is going to be filtered here, and here's where the note's going to be filtered. Here's where the image is going to go. Select this entire range, merge it, and this part should be done. Next, we're going to create these 2 tables, starting with this one. This is the table that's going to display expiration date. So you can see that it's called upcoming expiration date. So we have the next 6 months, this year, and next year. And these 3 options are built into the formula. So when we select next 6 months, it displays the expiration dates for the next 6 months. If we change to this year, you can see that we have a longer list, and some of them have already expired. And then next year, we have the ones expiring next year, 2026. Let's recreate this table. So back here, it starts from here. Here's going to be the header section, add a border around it. Here's going to say select, and here is where the drop down is going to be. So we're merging that. So merge these 2 cells, and then add another border. Actually, just do all borders. So we have a border here and a border around this one. And then one more outer border. And here is where the labels for the columns are going to go for the table. And then finally, select the table, external borders, and we're going to do internal borders just for this table section here. Select horizontal borders, and then we can change the color and the style. All right. And these 2 tables are not exactly the same, but they're very similar. So what we can do is select the entire thing, paint format, and paste it here. And then when we get here, we can make the changes we need to change. But for now, this is good enough. So add the colors you want to add based on your specific style and needs. And then we're going to add a drop down here. The drop down is going to say next 6 months, this year, next year. Okay, so same thing, data validation, add rule. So next 6 months, this year, and next year. If you're going to be using the formulas that I'm using, try to make sure that you spell everything the way I'm doing, because the formula is going to be reading the information from here for it to work. So just make sure that they match. And I'm going to change the style to arrow. Okay, and click done. So now we can select next 6 months, this year, and next year. And here it's going to say upcoming expirations. And the last one is going to be plant list type. So if you select a plant type, so something like tomatoes, it lists all the varieties, the variety type, and the growth height. So if you're planning on using the variety type, you can add that information here, and it will show up here, and the growth height will show up here as well. So if I change this to something else, let's do sweet pepper. All right, so we have the names, variety type, and the growth height. All right, so you can see how it works. So we need the header, the drop down, and the label headers here. I'm just going to copy the colors from here just to speed things up. And then here we can also do select. I don't have it in my example, but we can do the same thing to keep it consistent. And here is where we'll add our drop down. This drop down is the plant type. All right, so we can add that here. Data validation, add row, drop down from range. We can select it from the database, or we can select it from the setup tab. So I'll do the setup tab just to keep things consistent with what I did before. Advanced options, change it to arrow, and done. All right, so now I can select the plant type right here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I have all my headers added because some of them are missing. So for example, here should say plant type, right? So add that here. And then we have our subheaders. All right, and you can pause the video to use the same subheaders I'm using. So we have variety name, plant name, expiration date, variety type, and growth height. I'm just gonna make this bold. And let's see what else we're missing. We're missing the headers here. And this would be plant information and image. So copy that, paste plant information, summary, and image. We're missing the ones for the graphs, and we'll do that later when we add the actual graphs. Back to our tutorial checklist, we'll finish the dashboard structure, cross it off. Next, we're gonna add our dashboard formulas. And before I continue, I wanna say two things. One is that for the formulas to work without having any issues, try to use the exact same ranges I'm using. So use the exact same rows, columns that I'm using, and then all you need to do is copy the formula and paste it into your cell that matches my cells, and it should work seamlessly. Also try to use the same names. If you're not going to use the same cell location that I'm using, that's okay. You just have to make sure you edit the formulas. If you don't edit the formulas, they will not work. So those are the two ways to do it. Use the exact same ones that I'm using, and the formulas would work fine. Or if you're going to be using a different layout, that's okay, but you need to go into the formulas and update them with your own layouts for them to work. I will also use the opportunity to talk about my Patreon. I do have a paid Patreon. If you are a paid member of my Patreon, you will get a copy of the template that we are designing today. So all you need to do is download a copy and make the changes that you need to make. Thank you for my current Patreon subscribers. You will get this template we are creating today and all the other templates that we have created in the past. I will leave a link in the description box if you're interested in checking it out. All right, so back here, we're gonna start with adding the formulas that go here. In our dashboard, here is the formula. The first formula is for the total number of varieties. It's a very simple formula. It's a count A formula, and it's counting number of values in this column, which is where we have our variety names. So we can just copy this formula, paste it here. Now, if you're not using the rows, columns, and cells that I'm using, here's where you're going to change it. You change the name here to match your tab name, and then you can change the range, okay? So for us, the only thing we're going to need to change is change it to seed database 2, because this is the example, this is the template we're creating, so this needs to match this. So change this from seed database to seed database 2, enter. And now we have 7 varieties. I want to adjust the size here, so make this 24 and bold. So we have 7 varieties. We can double check that. Back to our seed database, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is correct. Next formula, the number of plant types. All right, this is also a count formula, but it's a count unique. It is for column D, which is where we have the plant type. So copy. Back here, we're gonna paste it here. Change it to seed database 2, enter, and we have 5. If we go back to our database, you can see that we have 7 listed here, but 5 unique types. So we have basil listed twice and lettuce listed twice, which is why we use count unique as opposed to count, because we don't want to duplicate the plant name. Next, we're going to count the category. We're going to use count unique as well. So copy that. Category is in column E. Paste it here. Change it to seed database 2, enter. And the last one is subcategory. It's the same formula, but instead of column E, it's column F. So we can actually just copy this formula from category, paste it here, and change E to and enter. All right, and I forgot to remove the grid lines, so go ahead and remove the grid lines. We don't really need it anymore. So view, show grid lines. All right. Next, we're going to work on the formulas that go here, here, and here, starting with this one. Okay, so these are referencing the name or the labels for the columns. So right here, you see D2. First, we're going to reference the columns we want to filter. Then we'll add the formulas. Starting with the first one, which is plant name. Here's where we're going to add it. Equals. Go to our database. We want plant name. Enter. Equals. Go into the database, selecting the cell. So we want category next. So selecting that cell, E2. Enter. Next will be subcategory and expiration date. We want that to show up. Variety type, and finally growth height, so add that one as well. We're not going to add the notes because it'll be pretty obvious that this is the note, so we don't need to label it. I'll select this entire row, left justified, and I'm just going to italicize it and bold it. All right, so it looks just like the one we have here. Next, we're going to add the formula. So here's the formula. Column B has the seed variety name, which is listed here. It's going to look and see when J8 is equal to B2, what is the plant name listed in this range? That's all it's doing. And once we copy this formula, we're going to reuse it for the entire table, including the one with it for the image. So back here, we're going to paste it and make sure we change it to seed database 2. All right, we need to reference the right database. Change the next one. And J8 is J8. So if you're not using the same cell location, here is where you're going to need to change things. I'm using the exact same one, so it should work. J8, all right, is right here. Seed database B2 is where I have the names that I've filtered into this drop down. And seed database D is where I have the plant name. So everything checks out. All I need to do now is hit enter, and it shows up here as lettuce. The Four Seasons is a lettuce variety. I'm just making this left justified so it looks more organized. And then what's nice about this is that we can just copy this formula. This formula already has the correct database name. The only thing we need to change now is the column that is being filtered. So right now this is filtering column D. We needed to filter column E. So right here, categories in column E. So now we're going to go here and change it from D to E. So now it shows the right category, and we're just going to repeat the same steps. We know subcategory is F, so right here, change it from D to F, enter. This is going to be G, because we have it in order. But if you didn't, you could easily reference this to double check the location of the column. So this is G. The next one is going to be H, so the same thing, change to H. The next one is I, change it from D to I. And the last one is our notes. And if we go here, our notes is in column J. So the same formula, type column J and enter. All right. And then if we go back here, let's see where our image is. Our image is in column C. So now we're just going to paste the formula here, change it from D to C, enter. All right. And now you can see the image shows up here. Let's change it to rockets. So we have arugula. It shows up the category. Whatever is missing here hasn't been put into the actual table. So the variety name and the growth height is missing, which is why nothing's showing up here. So we can add some information. So let's say variety type. Let's just choose something for the arugula. Let's say bush. The growth height, let's say 12 inches. Enter. And now if we go to our dashboard, you can see that information shows up here as well. All right. So it should be dynamic and it should work without any issues. And if you have any error message, it might mean there's a mismatch somewhere, so double check your formulas. Okay, so let's move on to the next formula. This is going to be filtering the expiration date based on what we have entered in our database. So we have our expiration dates here, and it's going to look for anything that expires in the next 6 months, this year, next year. Let's take a look at the formula. Here's the formula. It's a filter sort formula, and you can pause the video and copy the formula, but you can see here the drop downs are embedded in the formula. So next 6 months, this year, and next year, right? And then comparing that to the dates in column G, which is where we have the expiration dates. So we're just going to copy this and let's paste it here. We're going to change database to database 2 for all of them. All right, so make sure you change all of them. We have quite a few. So I have database 2 here, here, and here. Let's hit enter. And here's what we have. Here's what the date's looking like. And that's because this column is not formatted correctly. So select the entire column, go to format, and choose whatever format you want. So we can use this one we already use, which is the month, day, and year. So select that. So now you can see it changes to the actual month dates. So now let's test the rest of them. So first we'll do next 6 months. So you can see that it shows within the next 6 months what's going to expire. So in June and in September. This year, so you can see it shows everything, including the ones that have expired. So these ones have expired, and these ones are going to expire in the next 6 months this year. And then next year we have one item listed, all right, which is July 2026. The formula works the way it's supposed to. One more thing we want to do is, if we go back to the example, you can see right here, it's highlighting the ones that have expired. I did this with conditional formatting. So let's open up the conditional formatting area so you can see the rule that I have applied here. So to get the conditional formatting, you can go to Formats, Conditional Formatting, or you can select it from Text Color or Fill Color. You can see it shows up right here. All right, so select Conditional Formatting. Here is the one that I have applied here. Click on that, and here's the formula. I'll copy it, and we're going to apply it to the same range we have in our example sheet. So we have Conditional Formatting already opened up. Click on Add Another Rule, All right, the range is correct. So we do want to apply it to J23 to L44. We already selected it here and it automatically shows up here as selected. So that's correct. Select custom formula it's the last option, and paste that formula. Here is where you need to change just in case your sheet is different from mine. L23 right here, that's the first cell with a date, L23. So the formula has to have L23, all right, in the beginning, and it's comparing it to today's date. And if we go all the way to the end of the formula, it also has another L23. So if you're not using L23, change it to the location of the cell that has your first date, and make sure you have the $sign in front of it in both areas. So right here you have $sign L23, and at the end of the formula $sign L23. Now you can see it already applied this green color, which is correct, but we want to change it to red. So I'm changing the color and the font to white just to contrast with that red a little bit, and click done. And then now you can see January 14th, February, March, and May. These dates are before May 2025, which is when I'm making this video. So these ones are automatically highlighted. If I change it to next year, nothing should be highlighted because these dates is in the future as well as the next 6 months. All right, so this is done. The last formula we need is the one here. On this formula, we have our drop down here, which is the plant type. When I click tomato, I can see all the tomato varieties that I have. Here's what it looks like. It's a sort filter formula. All right, and it's sorted in alphabetical, so you can see it goes from A to Z. All right, so just select the formula and paste it in our template. First, we change the sheet name. So this is seed database. Change it to seed database 2. All right, and the second thing we need to change is, you see how here it's selecting the word select, because we changed the layout slightly. In the example, we don't have select, we just have everything here as a drop down, but here we do have select. So right now it is referencing this as a drop down instead of this. So the drop down is in O21, not N21. So everywhere we have N21, here it is, change it to O21. All right, so change it here, and we have one more that we haven't changed the name, seed database 2. So seed database 2, O21. All right, and enter. So we have no match found. So let's change this to lettuce, and here we go. So now it filters the 2 lettuce variety names we have and whatever information we have on the variety or growth height. We don't have anything listed here, but let's change that. Let's go to 4 seasons. Let's say variety type compact and 12 inches. All right, and then now here it should filter that information, 4 seasons compact 12 inches. All right, so it's working the way it's supposed to. And when there is nothing, it says not applicable with this error message. If you don't want this to show up, you can double click, type if error, open brackets all the way down after the formula, comma, 2 quotation marks, and then close the brackets and hit enter. All right, so now it's blank. If I wanted to say no results found or some specific verbiage, I can type it between the quotations. So I could say none, for example. So if I type none here and hit enter, now none shows up. So if I go back to filter letters, the information is there, so it shows up. If I check something else, it shows up as none, or I can remove none and just leave it like that, and it just shows up blank, and we don't have that error message. So our formulas are done. Now we're gonna add our graphs. We'll start with the first one. The graph here is the plant name. You can see that I'm referencing the column name as the name of the graph. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. So here, first thing we'll do is add the column name, because we want to graph the information with the plant name. So first I'm going to label the area correctly, plant name. All right, and then I'm going to add the graph here in this space. So to do this, just go to insert charts. All right, and we're going to select the range. So click on select data range, go to our database. We want to graph the information here. So select these cells and remove the row number. So it selects everything. Click OK. And now nothing shows up, but that's okay. Just check aggregates. And here's what it looks like. So now we need to make a few changes. We need to change it from this style to the bar chart. Go to customize, remove the background and the chart border, because we already have a border and a color in this area, so we don't need it. Resize it so it fits like so, and pull it all the way down. And then as you add more information into the database, this becomes more narrow. So if you look at the example I have a ton of information here, so you can see that it looks different. We can remove these lines, so you can double click on this line and check off major grid lines, and it looks like this. And you could always move things around to resize it, just in case you have names that are really long, you can resize it so it fits better. And of course, we can change the color. So when we double click, you can see here it opens up this area, and we can change the color to something else. So let's say this darker color. All right. The next one we're going to put here is our category. So do the same thing. Equals, go to our table. We want our category, so we're referencing that column name. And now we add the graph. Insert charts, change it to pie charts. All right. Select the range back here, selecting this category. All right. Aggregate. I accidentally selected the header, so I'm going to change it to E3. All right, so it doesn't add the header as one of the options. And now I can customize it further, remove the background color, and then change the legend. I'm going to shift it into this space. So the label works when it's wider. You see how the label shows up, but once we try to squeeze it into this square space, it doesn't quite work. And I also like how left justified looks. So when we change it to left, it works perfectly for this style. And here is going to be subcategories, almost the exact same thing. So after we add the label for subcategory, we can copy the graph, right? Because this is in column E and this is in column F. So we can copy the chart, paste it here, all right, move it into the space, edit chart, and change it from E to F. All right, so now instead of E3, E300, it's F3 to F300. Now hit enter. And now it updates to the subcategory information. And the last one is going to be variety type, equals, select the name, variety type. All right, and here we're using a column chart, insert chart, column chart has already been selected, so data range. All right, we're graphing this information here, so select column H, remove the row number, click OK, aggregate. We can go to customize and remove the background color and the chart color, move it into the space. And then I am also removing this major grid line just to give it a more minimalistic look like this. So I have one for each for variety type. And of course, if we go back to our example, we have a lot more because we have a lot more information in our database. So as you add information into the database, the information in the graphs will automatically update. Back to our checklist. All right, so we added the formulas, we added the graphs, and I already talked about my Patreon. I'll reiterate what I said earlier. If you want to join my Patreon, that's another way to support me. I'll leave the link in the description box so you can go ahead and join if you're interested. But one of the benefits of being part of my Patreon is that you will have access to this template we created today and all the templates I have created in the past and future templates if you continue being a member. So thank you, current Patreon subscribers. One more thing before I wrap up. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, of course. If this video helped you, please give it a like. Share it with somebody that is looking to create something like this, whether it is this specific inventory tracker or trying to learn how to create dashboards, send it to them. And if you have any ideas about dashboards that I can add to this series, because there's so many use cases possible. So what I am doing is collecting ideas. So if you already have a database that you want to be converted into a dashboard, let me know in the comment section. Feel free to also email me because I have already received some emails and I will create tutorials based on the dashboards that I have received. So thank you so much for watching, sticking around all the way to the end, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.